Welcome to the RS Expert Advice Podcast. In each episode, we interview a trusted expert in the electronics industry to provide purchasers, engineers, installers, and maintainers with valuable insights into the product and technology solutions that can help them overcome common challenges and add real value to their workflows. We hope you enjoy this episode and that you learn something useful and new. Today, I'm speaking with Jacob Kimball, a senior technical trainer for industry business at Schneider Electric, a leading global supplier of innovative process and energy technologies, about industrial human-machine interfaces, or HMIs. Welcome, Jacob. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your role at Schneider.
Growing up, I was always that kid on the block who had to take things apart, always curious about how things work. And thankfully, my parents really didn't give me a hard time when I took apart toys. And at the end of the day, sometimes the toy ended up in the recycling bin. But for me, I've always been curious about that. So math and science were definitely my favorite subjects in school, not counting recess and gym, of course. But anyway, so my first several years of my career were mostly hands-on, working with heavy equipment, working with medium voltage, electrical power generation and distribution, as well as boilers and chilled water systems, water, wastewater, and also some package handling. In addition to that, did a lot of various work with electrical installation and maintenance. So moving from that pre-Schneider Electric background into Schneider Electric about 24 years ago, my focus became much more on automation, specifically around variable speed drives, programmable logic controllers for machine control, machine automation, and HMI. And my roles have included tech support, which allows me to interface directly with customers and help them solve problems, but also marketing, and now I work with training. So training is interesting to me because it's a convergence of the technology that we use, the people that use it, but also the applications that our customers are working with on a day-to-day basis, and just making sure that our support people, whether they're employees of Schneider Electric or our channel partners, really know how to bring all that together to help our customers.
Please also introduce us to Schneider Electric.
Schneider Electric is a global company. There are over 160,000 employees. Our revenues are about $35 billion a year. So what that means is we have tremendous resources, both in terms of people, but also the ability to invest in technology and implementing that technology in real life. At the core of Schneider Electric is sustainability. Around the world, everyone has limited resources. And at the same time, everyone wants to have the best quality of life and to be successful in business. So we feel like it's really important to be able to take the resources that are available to us and use that efficiently to make the most we can with it, whether that's business or in our homes, day-to-day life. The electrification of automation around the world is an area where we can really have tremendous influence over the efficient use of our resources in a responsible way. Another thing about Schneider Electric that I find to be personally satisfying to me is that I've kind of been lucky a little bit with my roles, where a lot of the products that I've worked with have included innovation, brand new technologies, creative thinking, and a big part of that is our investment. So between 2017 and 2022, for example, we invested over $8 billion in research and development. Not everything that we invest in is going to be a win. So what that means is we're willing to take the risk to invest in new technologies and figure out, the best way to put that into play. But it also really helps us to carry ourselves forward into the future, where what we don't know today becomes key in being able to manage our resources in a responsible way.
You joined us today to talk about industrial human-machine interfaces, or HMIs. What are our industrial HMIs and why are they important?
HMI stands for Human Machine Interface. and I've got one in my hand. As the name suggests, it is the interface between the human or the operator and the machine is automated. So they're pretty familiar to most people when it comes to how they work because they're graphical. It's a touch screen. So the interface is meant to be intuitive, easy to read, easy to use. And a lot of us as consumers already are doing the same kind of thing when we're in a grocery store or at a gas station and we interface with some kind of customer service kiosk. The difference with industrial HMIs is that the machinery that we're interfacing with isn't about purchasing or about entertainment, but it's really interfacing with a machine that's got an industrial purpose. And there's a controller on the inside. The HMI is how the operator or service people interact with that machinery.
Please tell us a bit more about industrial HMIs.
In machines and also in processes, there's usually a control panel or multiple control panels. And the machine itself is operated by and controlled by what we call a PLC or programmable logic controller. So that device is not visible. It's behind a closed door. There's no screen or interface on it, but that's really the brains of and the operational center of the machine or the process itself. So it's important to understand that. So that controller is looking at and reading the status of various inputs. Those inputs could be all kinds of sensors that are around the machinery, pressure, temperature, switches that are on and off, and so on. Then it's running through logic. And based on the logic, it is controlling all of the controllable parts of the machine, motors, valves, whatever it is that you can control in that machine. So a HMI is connected to the controller, and it's the interface because we need a way for the operator to see what's going on. What is the status? How fast is it going? Are there adjustments that need to be made? And the HMI allows you to do that. So when you think about all of that put together, the controller and the HMI that's interfacing with it, something that the HMI does really, really well is manage data. Because the controller has a critical job to do, which is controlling the machine every few milliseconds. And the HMI is connected to it. Every bit of data that's available throughout that machine is able to be communicated to the HMI, whether or not you're displaying it. So what does that mean? On an operational basis, in real time, it means that the HMI can display the status that you would expect to see. But also, if there's a problem, an alarm can come up. And so on the screen, it'll be presented right in front of you, clearly what the problem is, perhaps with a description that will help the maintenance person or the operator figure it out. Associated with that, behind the scenes, there could be a whole bunch of data about that problem. When did it take place? What else was happening? Like who was operating it? What adjustments were made just prior to that problem? What was the pressure? What was the speed, the temperature? And so in addition to the simple description of a problem, there could be this historical data that can really aid with troubleshooting, diagnosing, and ultimately solving the problem, perhaps even going to the next step of understanding the problem well enough to do preventive work to really help to ensure productivity.
What are some application examples for HMIs?
Yeah, so an example to illustrate the importance of data is imagine we have a package handling machine, and the packages are coming through the station, different size boxes. So there's data associated with that. There's the height, width, and depth of the box, but also how much it weighs. Associated with the box is perhaps a list of materials that's been packed into the box. Who's it going to? Like, who's the customer? What's their address? And so it's not just operating the machinery, but it's associating all kinds of data with the process of handling that package. Beyond that, could be where the package goes next, including the truck dock, the truck that it's going to be loaded on, what the tracking information is associated with that. And even with the customer, the data that is printed on the box about delivery is associated with customer information that could even include their billing information. So there's so much data associated with the simple task of moving packages that includes information right on the machine itself that is directly relevant to the operator, but also attachments to information that are part of the building, not the building, but the business management systems. And so security becomes a really important issue as well. And that's something that the HMIs are tasked with handling in multiple ways. One is through login, username. So an operator might have to log into an HMI with a password, and that particular operator has access to information that's operational for them. Whereas a supervisor would be able to access different information. A maintenance person would have more technical information that they have access to. So security can be handled at that basic level of who has access to what, but then there's also the connectivity. So as I mentioned in this example with package handling, there's the package itself, but also the customer information. Probably that information does not even need to be held on the PLC, the control panel, or the HMI itself, but because there's information about the address, it's interfacing with that business management system. The connection between the industrial product and the business software needs to be secure. There's encryption, and there's also IT standards about how network security is handled. So the implementation of HMI oftentimes goes quite a bit beyond what you see on the machine itself.
There are a lot of HMIs on the market. Are there any key characteristics that customers should look out for when they're evaluating their options?
Absolutely. And we usually start with the basics. The first thing most people are going to consider with the HMI is the size of the screen. On the one hand, we usually want the biggest screen that we can fit because we can put more information on there and have it be easy to read. But on the other hand, there's other factors like the size of the control panel. How much information do you really need to display anyway? Where is the HMI located compared to the operator? If it's up close, maybe they don't need a 20-inch screen. So that's a very common first kind of question to ask, is the size of the screen. In addition, you get into the technical characteristics of the HMI. What is it connected to? What brand, what type of PLC controller is inside the control panel? What other equipment is in that control panel that also has network connectivity that the HMI is going to read data from or send data to? So that's going to influence your choice because even though the front of the screen may look the same, different catalog numbers within any offer are going to have different connectors on the back to support whatever it is that you're connected to. Other factors to consider is where it's placed, environmental conditions. And what I mean by that is the HMI going to be in a control panel that's indoors as compared to outside in direct sunlight, dealing with the cold of winter and the heat of summer. So there will be different series of HMI products that are designed for harsher environments, and naturally they cost more. So there's a trade-off between the durability or the integrity of that product if it's in a harsh environment versus a more typical factory environment. Other things could relate to specific specifications that a customer may have. It could be vibration, voltage, how much energy is used by the HMI. So those are some of the reasons why there are a lot of HMIs to choose from, is because of the various different needs that people have. So in addition to those, they're more physical and technical in like a specification kind of way. How is the HMI being used? So one of the trends that's happening now, and you probably have heard of Industry 4.0, Sometimes people refer to that as IIoT, or Industrial Internet of Things. HMIs are part of that. In some ways, HMIs are not very new when it comes to that, because for a long time, HMIs have already been communicating very well. But they're also in a place within the control panel where the HMI is oftentimes between the machine operational information and cloud-based services, or at least plant-wide. So there's sometimes a gray area between an HMI where the letter M means machine and makes you think, okay, this device is there to help me interface with the machine that I can see that's right in front of me, but also what we call SCADA, which is supervisory control and data acquisition, which a lot of times looks like a central command center where it's inside an air-conditioned room with monitors and computers, where you have an overview of the entire plant, the entire operation. And that's not traditionally where an HMI is. But what we find is that more and more machines can be very, very large or connected to each other. So a lot of the capabilities of that supervisory system are needed at the HMI level, on the control panels that are interconnected. On the other hand, the capabilities of HMIs include excellence when it comes to data handling. So a lot of the traditional features that have required SCADA systems in the past are able to run an HMI at a lower cost and a smaller footprint. So that may influence our choice too, because some of the HMIs operate on Windows or Linux-based systems and allow for more interconnectivity beyond the machine, but into the plant and even into internet-based cloud services where you may have remote monitoring, fleet-wide management, even connection to services that are not industrial. Earlier, I had mentioned something about packaging where there could be customer information. So sometimes our HMIs are connected to services that are giving added value to the machine user to help them run their business, but it's not necessarily software that traditionally had direct connection to the factory floor.
What's unique about Schneider Electric's industrial HMIs?
One of the things about almost all manufacturers of HMIs that also work with other automation products like PLCs, SCADA systems, variable speed drives, and so forth, is that our products connect very well to our products. So overall, Schneider Electric is very good at offering complete solutions when it comes to automation, including HMI and all those other things. So naturally, we work well as a solution. But at the same time, Schneider Electric's Harmony HMIs are very good at connecting well with other products that operate on different software and use communication protocols that might not be native to our own. And the reason for that is that in the real world, we find that there are many times where there's legacy equipment already in place, or there's specialty items or customer preference, which is really dictating which products and which solutions are there. So we find that it's really important for our products to both work well with our own as part of a solution, but also play well with others.
You mentioned them briefly, but please tell us a bit more about Schneider Electric's Harmony HMI line.
We have several families of products within Harmony HMI product line, starting from very small HMIs up to very large ones that are greater than 20 inches, but also some specialty items. Some of our HMIs are designed to work with very rugged applications, and so that's a special part of our offer. Also associated with the HMI as part of our Harmony offer are industrial PCs. And so technically, an industrial PC is different than an HMI, whereas HMIs have their own software and operating system, so that you can configure the screens and connect that set of screens to your control system. Industrial PCs run on Windows or Linux, and it allows the industrial PC to look and behave like an HMI, but also run other software And sometimes that's because certain machines have proprietary software that's very specialized, and that's really the only way to get it done. Other times it just has to do with what I'm just going to call horsepower. It's not really what it is, but the capability of the industrial PC to handle a lot more data, a higher level of processing speed, connected to more products using more software. But essentially, at the end of the day, it looks like an HMI screen on the control panel. Another thing about our offer is that there are some products that don't even have a screen. And that's because there are applications where the HMI is inside the control panel, and it's processing everything that the HMI would normally do. But instead of having a display on the panel, it's accessible through the network, and perhaps it's displayed on phones or tablets or on computer terminals somewhere else.
Can you introduce us to a few of the series in your Harmony HMI line?
The bread and butter of our product offer is the Harmony ST6, and the smallest ones are about 4 inches, and it goes up to 15 inches. So it really does cover a wide range of applications. The software that we use for configuring that is EcoStruxure Operator Terminal Expert, which is a relatively new, very modern software. And what that allows us to do is to reduce time to market, the development of the screens, how the screens navigate, how the alarms are displayed, what kind of graphics you put on the screen is using software that is just more intuitive to use than previous generations of industrial HMI software. So that's part of the HMI ST6. It's not just the hardware, but the software we use to configure it. Another offer that we have is the GTU. The GTU is a higher end HMI that has more processing power and speed, larger screen sizes, but also specifications that have a wider range of temperature and vibration. Closely associated with that is the GTU-X. The letter X is basically a hardened version of an HMI that's designed for harsh environments. And other features that are with that GTU family of HMIs include special navigation that requires a change to the hardware. So the way to illustrate that is that traditionally HMIs, because they're being used in an industrial environment, only allow you to touch one part of the screen at a time. And so all of your navigation, all of your interaction is just one point. The GTU allows us to do multi-point. So you can actually touch the screen with 2 fingers, you can expand it, you can pinch it, and you resize the way the screen is displayed. You can slide things from left to right, up and down. So that allows operators to see a large view, zoom in, look at particular details, and really navigate around through that graphical interface in a more natural way, the way that we as consumers are interfacing with our computers and with our phones. So to accomplish that is actually requiring quite a bit of new technology, and that's why it's something that's available on fewer HMIs and overall.
Is there anything else you'd like RS customers to know about Schneider Electric or its HMI solutions?
The most important thing is to really start with the application. What are your needs? What's being done with the machinery or the process? How are the operators going to be interfacing with it? What do you need to do with the data? Is there a need for remote connectivity? And if so, what are those needs? So rather than trying to approach our customers with a catalog number or a range of products and try to sell that and make it fit, the important thing is to discuss what you're going to do with your operator interface and with your data. And then between our sales engineers, the application engineers, our experience, make sure that we really find a solution that works best to solve the specific requirements for your application for today, but also giving some thought to the future needs as well.
And thank you for taking the time to speak with us today, Jacob. And thanks to our listeners for joining us for this episode of the RS Expert Advice Podcast. For more information about Schneider Electric, please visit www.se.com. And for our complete collection of expert advice content, including more episodes of the RS Expert Advice Podcast, please visit us.rs-online.com/expert.